it's that huge of an advantage. It is great if you start out with Death by Shaman, though. It's kind of what we saw with the Reanimator yesterday. If you have a mana accelerant and they don't, then that's one of the situations where being on the play is just a huge advantage.
And then we can actually see a recreation of another one of the situations that happened or can happen. If you lay the turn 1 mana accelerator and they follow up, and then you go Fiend Hunter in Standard to take away their accelerator, a huge swing. Or in this matchup, if you lay Liliana of the Veil, which Jack Fogle is capable of doing, a huge swing.
Yeah, and it's also, being on the player draw, it also kind of creates some tricky situation in terms of how you play certain things, because if you're playing the Esper Deathblade Mirror and your opponent's on the play and he plays a Polluted Delta and you draw and you have a Thoughtseize, can you really afford to Thoughtseize here? Because if he Thoughtseize and he does have a Brainstorm, then you can't Thoughtseize away the equipment he gets with a Stoneforge Mystic if he plays Stoneforge on turn 2. But if you don't Thoughtseize, does he have a Dark Confidant instead? So a lot of decisions in this matchup that come down to whether or not you're on the player draw.
I've heard a lot of people make the claim that Brainstorm is just so wildly too good of a card that it should be banned in Legacy. But I really hope that Wizards never makes that decision, because one of the things I love about Brainstorm is the sheer number of decisions that it presents to the players who are playing it. And I have found that because of that, Legacy is a very skill-testing format overall.
Oh yeah, I agree with that too. I think Brainstorm is one of those cards that makes it it's a very skill intensive card. It's also a card that you have to determine how to play around as well, especially if you're playing discard spells, because, you know, like I just mentioned, do I cast it on turn 1? Do I wait on turn 2 in case he has a Stoneforge Mystic so I can get the equipment? Does he have a Brainstorm? Is he going to be able to hide his cards anyway? So definitely add some thought to the game, some strategy that I think would be missed if it wasn't there.
And you can see Judge Jeff Foster once again laughing it up. I believe that Ruben Bressler is making great entertainment for those seated out there. Unfortunately, we can't hear the humorous jokes.
So both players apparently mulled to 6, but they're okay with their 6-card hands. So Jack Fogle starts things off here with a fetch land, which potentially means a turn 1 Thoughtseize or a Deathrite Shaman. And he does get a basic Swamp as a Wasteland protection, knowing that Nolen does in fact play a couple of copies of Wasteland. So turn 1 Thoughtseize. Wow. So two of the quality 2-drops that Lauren plays, both Dark Confidant and Stoneforge Mystic in his hand. Jack now with the decision, which do I care about more? Obviously, if he has a Plowshare, the correct play here is a Stoneforge Mystic, so that he doesn't gain any value from it. So looks like he's going to go after the Dark Confidant instead. And good choice, because Lauren does draw a second Stoneforge Mystic. So Lauren plays a Misty Rainforest and passes the turn. Jack does in fact have a Jace the Mind Sculptor, so his logic could be I'll be able to eventually have a way to deal with that Stoneforge Mystic, but it looks like it's not going to be... Yeah, I think he just got rid of the Dark Confidant because he didn't want Lauren to try to grind him out. Drawing multiple cards over the next 3 turns is just too good of an effect. So Lauren searches for a Tundra, and looks like we're going to see a Stoneforge Mystic enter play unencumbered. Jack only has lands and a Jace the Mind Sculptor. Again, he did have to mulligan to 6. So Thoughtseize, Jace, and lands isn't a terrible mulligan. So another huge draw from Lauren. He drew a Wasteland, so he could potentially activate Stoneforge Mystic and still use the Wasteland on the following turn. Jack, played around Wasteland on turn 1. Let's see if he continues to play around Wasteland.
If you're just joining us, this is the finals of the StarCityGames.com Open Series Legacy event here in Nashville, Tennessee, just getting underway. Game 1, Lauren Nolen and Jack Fogle playing in a near mirror match. Only a few cards separate these two Esper Deathblade decks.
So Lauren does in fact search for Batterskull, and Jack Fogle searches for a basic island, continuing to protect himself from Wasteland. And ouch, Jack draws a Batterskull. Not an ideal draw. And he does have a Flooded Strand, so he can continue to protect himself from Wasteland. He does have one basic land left in his deck, I believe.
A swamp, one of each.
So Lauren draws an Underground Sea. And we're probably going to see an Underground Sea enter play and then pass. Or, yeah, Scalding Tarn. So Scalding Tarn and pass for Lauren here. Threatening to activate Stoneforge Mystic to put that Batterskull into play. Jack doesn't really have a lot of options here. He's just going to draw a card for the turn. And it is a Deathrite Shaman. So, tough choice here for Jack. He's going to just have to play a Deathrite Shaman here because he knows that he knows the Batterskull is coming, so he doesn't want to just throw away his Jace or have it be a really expensive Brainstorm.
And we see...
Looks like that Germ token might come into play.
Yep.
It's an actual Germ token.
Germ.
So, it looks like Jack still doesn't have an effective answer for Batterskull just yet. Lauren is going to sacrifice the Scalding Tarn to get a land. Jack did play a Karakas, it looks like, so Lauren does have a target for his Wasteland.
Getting this advantage on the table. Batterskull.
And Plowshare takes care of Deathrite Shaman.
Jack goes up to 17, but there's a pretty hefty clock on the way.
I believe he's at 18 now. It's toughness. Oh no. It'd be 17. So Lauren Nolen has the option now. He just drew a Jete. He could cast a Jete and equip up the Germ token and swing in, which would be huge because it would take out some... It potentially deals with other Stoneforge Mystic. It deals with Dark Confidant. It deals with other Deathrite Shamans. So a lot of options here. Don't really think you need to go after the Karakas right now, but looks like he's choosing to do that. So
just trying to choke Jack Fogle out of mana here while he has the advantage.
Yeah, and that's a reasonable play here because he can just attack with the Germ token and he can sneak that Umezawa into play at the end of Jack's turn. So Jack might be surprised by it and just he's not going to be able to play around it because he doesn't have the information. So
Brainstorm drawn by Jack Fogle. Now we've tried to turn our speaking volumes down a little bit here because at this point, after a good 14 hours of Magic here in Nashville, there are hardly any players left in the room, and even though they are a good football field away, our voices do carry over there.
So Jack deciding what he wants to do here. He still has that Jace the Mind Sculptor in play, and it looks like Jace will make an appearance. Perhaps bouncing a Germ token. Yep, so searches for a Underground Sea and a Tundra, and Jace is now going to make an appearance, bouncing a Germ token. Lauren is basically just going to be forced to bounce the Batterskull back to his hand and then reactivate the Stoneforge Mystic at the following turn, which will give Jack at least one activation of Brainstorm.
Goodbye, Germ.
And, yep. Let's see what Lauren does here. Is he going to activate Batterskull to bring it back to his hand? Is he going to put the Jete into play? I think the correct play is probably... Oh, so he's going to put the Jete in play and equip an attack with the Stoneforge. That's interesting because the Stoneforge won't actually be able to kill the... it won't actually be able to kill the Jace. So if you're going all in on the Stoneforge here, Jack has a lot more ways to deal with that.
He equips, he attacks. Jace drops to 1. Jite gets a second counter. We see the land in hand and a second Stoneforge Mystic and a pass. Lauren Nolen does not bother to search because those are the only 2 equipment in his main deck.
Yeah, and Jack does not have any Supreme Verdicts in his main deck, so it looks like he's going to have to try to find an answer to both the Stoneforge Mystics this turn if he wants to keep that Jace in play. He does have a Stoneforge Mystic, I believe. So Stoneforge searching for Jete. Stoneforge searching for Jete, playing the Jete, and then Fate Sealing is a reasonable play because then you can block one of the Stoneforge Mystics.
And he goes with the Brainstorm effect from Jace the Mind Sculptor using 0 loyalty. Gets 3 fresh cards. adds a Thoughtseize, a Brainstorm, and a Vindicate to his hand, joining a Stoneforge Mystic, a Batterskull, and I believe another Brainstorm.
Yeah, I don't really like this play because you don't have multiple answers to the creatures in play. You could theoretically draw a chump blocker, but he does have an active Jitte, so he can clear the way for that. If you just play, does he have a Stoneforge in his hand? Or was I misreading it?
I believe he has a Stoneforge in hand.
Maybe he doesn't have the Jitte. Maybe he didn't. I don't think he found the Jitte either, because if you search for, oh well, he could have activated the. He could have activated the Jitte to kill the Stoneforge anyway, I guess so. But either way, though, you could still Fate Seal and keep your Jace in play one more turn.
Thoughtseize gets rid of a Swords to Plowshare. And I kind of wonder if Jack is going to just Vindicate that Batterskull while he can. There it is.
Yep, so decides to just Vindicate the Batterskull.
Jack Fogle has a handful of cards. He's going to lose his he's going to lose his Jace the Mind Sculptor. But Lauren Nolen, empty-handed until this draw phase, with 2 Stoneforge Mystics and a Jace, and a Umezawa's Jitte in play.
Yeah, so Lauren does draw a Brainstorm here.
Main phase Brainstorm, looking for something, some kind of fresh action. A Bob, something.
Is that a Vendilion Click?
Thoughtseize,
so pretty good draw there.
Land and something.
Looks like he did draw a Vendilion Click, so solid draw there for Lauren. He's going to be able to kill the Jace the Mind Sculptor this turn, attack Lauren down to 8, potentially 3 if he chose to, potentially 4 if he wanted to pump up the other Stoneforge Mystic. But
Jack Fogle's life total very low here at this point.
Yeah, this is a really good situation for Lauren. He can attack. Looks like he's going to pump his Stoneforge Mystic, dropping Jack to 4. The other Stoneforge Mystic, without the equipment on it, kills the Jace, and Jack drops to 4 life now.
And after the draw, before the draw step is exited, Vendilion Click comes down. Does it resolve?
Yeah, and I'm surprised he did it during the draw, because you know that Jack doesn't have any Supreme Verdicts. I think and you only have one Vendilion Click in your deck that Jack knows of, so he's probably not going to play around it. You could potentially, and he doesn't have Lingering Souls in his main deck, so you could potentially catch him off guard by casting the Click end of turn. So I'm not sure I like the play of just casting it in his draw step and giving him another draw and allowing him to play around that card now. But either way, still a very good situation for Lauren.
And Jack brainstorms in response. Finds a Brainstorm, finds a Tundra, finds a Ponder. A lot of search and no strong action.
So not a good way out of this one.
I think he's dead.
He can put the Stoneforge back on top of his library. If he does that, Lauren can possibly take. I don't even think Lauren takes anything. I think he just lets him have them both.
Yeah, be a slowpoke over there. Spend all that time.
Yeah, I'd rather him spend the mana to cantrip than just giving him a free cantrip.
Absolutely.
So yep, Lauren definitely lets him keep both cards. Now we're gonna get a Ponder, clear some of those cards away, see if he can draw. So is Jack at 9? Is that correct?
I think that Jack is at 5.
I thought
4? Yeah, might be at 4.
He's at 4 life here. Stoneforge Mystic was pumped with Jitte last turn. So Jack dropped to 4 last turn.
Brainstorm found. Main phase Brainstorm. Thoughtseize. Swords, that's helpful. That'll.
He's a Swords, but it doesn't matter.
Not enough. Not enough. Even if he hits the biggest creature, he'll still take 4.
So Lauren Nolen managed to pull out game 1, despite the fact that both players mulliganed to 6 and he was in the draw.
Okay. So we have our first game win in this Legacy Open Finals. And as these players review the deck lists of their opponent, we're also going to come and see if we can find another winner out there for our 1 year of Star City Games Premium giveaway. Now, if you don't already have Premium, you should be getting it. Great articles, great videos, and just as much Magic content as you can sop up. If you're watching this, you probably care about Magic, and you should try to get as much information as you can. A free year of Star City Games Premium, it's a good way to go that direction. Now, How does this work? Hashtag SCG Premium if you tweet the correct answer to the trivia question that we have, and you are amongst those that have a successful answer. One person will be selected with that hashtag and with that successful answer to receive 1 free year of Star City Games Premium. The trivia question for 1 free year: what is the highest casting cost card in all of the top 8? What is the highest casting cost card in all of the top 8? If you tweet the correct answer with hashtag SCG Premium, you could win 1 free year of Star City Games Premium.
That's a good one. That's a good question.
Do some research. Study and grow strong, my friends.
Get a free year premium.
Osip, what do you think we're going to have to do here with these sideboards? I know that Jack and Lauren are looking at the sideboards trying to find a path towards victory. What do you see for Lauren's side?
Well, for Lauren, he's got 3 copies of Force of Will. You know, again, I don't like Force of Will in this matchup. Beyond that, though, everything's something that you really want. He doesn't have a lot of cards that he wants to board out other than those Force of Will, so I could see Force of Will coming out. But beyond that, I mean, you know, Thoughtseize is obviously very powerful, along with the Vindicate, which is a way to potentially deal with Batterskull, and Path to Exile is another card. I don't think you want to overcomplicate things. Maybe Disenchant, but yeah, I don't think you want to overcomplicate things. The key cards that matter are Deathrite Shaman, Stoneforge Mystic, Dark Confidant. You know, you don't really want to try to gum up the works here. A lot of his sideboard is for other matchups, not so much for the mirror, because the mirror comes down to, you know, who can navigate things better, who can manage their resources better, and really it's very draw dependent too. So I don't really think there's a lot of cards in his sideboard that he needs to bring in.
From Jack Fogle's side, Jack in a certain way starts this match pre-sideboarded. He has 0 Force of Wills in his main and keeps the Force of Will in the sideboard. His sideboard includes a lot of cards that are interesting for this matchup. Lingering Souls could be interesting, Counterspell, Vendilion Click, Duress, Engineered Explosives, Snapcaster Mage. Those all seem like they could potentially be brought in, but that's 7 cards. And if we look at his main deck is practically pre-boarded. What are you going to take out in this matchup? Are you going to take out Swords to Plowshares when you have to deal with the possibility of a Dark Confidant? Are you going to take out Ponder and Brainstorm? Maybe one of the best cards to take out is Liliana of the Veil, but it takes away the ability to go Deathrite Shaman into Liliana to eat the other person's Deathrite Shaman. I look at this and I see 7 cards that I can imagine bringing in, 3 Surgical Extractions that I can, you know, go into the deep imagination lands to bring in, and very few cards that I actually want to take out.
Yeah, Esper Blade isn't one of these decks that boards in a lot of cards for any matchup. It's not like it doesn't have a transformational strategy. It brings in a few cards here and there to sort of improve the matchup, but basically this deck is a game 1 deck. It has it's very consistent. It doesn't have a lot of chafe that you need to worry about. So that's why you don't see a lot of 4-ofs or 3-ofs in any of these sideboards. It's usually 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. And that's what we see with Lauren's deck. We see that with Jack's deck as well. You can obviously build a sideboard for the mirror if you chose. I mean, obviously Lingering Souls is very important in this matchup. Mini Jace Bellerin, I think, is another good card. But in these sideboards, there's really not that many cards they want. I definitely think that Jack will be bringing the Lingering Souls because, again, that's a very powerful card. But beyond that, there's not that many cards. You know, Thoughtseize is very good, but Jack doesn't have another Thoughtseize. Lauren does, so, you know.
I mean, what are the cards you'd even take out from Jack Fogle's list? The only one I have marked as a really worth consideration is Liliana of the Veil, and even that is still a valuable card.
Yeah, I like Liliana of the Veil on the play. I don't think Jack will probably board that one out. Maybe he wants to cut one for a Lingering Souls, because that's definitely a card he wants to bring in. But yeah, I think Liliana of the Veil on the play definitely has some good potential there, especially because Lauren doesn't have any copies of Lingering Souls.
One of the things when you have such a tight list, it can be very hard to move it around. I actually could see Inquisition of Kozilek being, not replaced. No, never mind.
No,
I was gonna say that Duress is great against Jace, but you know what? You don't replace Inquisition. It can get a Bob. It can get Stoneforge Mystic. Yeah. You know, like, this is a tough one. I mean,
yeah. Again, there's not really that many cards Jack wants to board out, but that's the deck. You know, the mirror match is it comes down to these small changes Nothing major, nothing dramatic. You're a game one deck. Your deck isn't. You don't need to transform into something else. So both players looking at their opening hand. Jack Fogle will be on the play this game.
Now, Lauren Nolen with his Thief Blade deck. Will Notion Thief make an appearance?
So turn one Thoughtseize from Jack Fogle again reveals a hand of Vindicate, Swords to Plowshare, Jace the Mind Sculptor. So Jace the Mind Sculptor likely to get stolen here, leaving Lauren with 2 pieces of removal, potentially to deal with either Dark Confidant, Stoneforge Mystic, or any of the problematic cards out of Jack's deck. Which is, again, this shows you just how powerful a card like Lingering Souls is in this matchup. It's a threat. It's difficult to steal with discard, and you can't really 1-for-1 it with removal. So Jack probably really wishing he had more copies than just one in his sideboard. So Lauren draws a card for his turn, draws a Jete, not really a card you want right now. So he's going to have to play a Scrubland and just pass the turn. Lauren's going to have to draw something a little more proactive than what he has in his hand right now. Looks like, I'm not sure what he drew there, but Jack does have a Brainstorm and a Sackland, so he can start manipulating his hand a little bit more. Beyond that, can't see. It looks like maybe there's a Thoughtseize.
I think you're correct on the Thoughtseize. There's definitely a Brainstorm, maybe 2 Brainstorms.
You don't really want to waste a Thoughtseize right now. I mean, there is a potential that Lauren drew a Stoneforge Mystic that can come into play now, but again, I think you're better off waiting a couple more turns. Typically, when your opponent has 3 mana in play, that's kind of the time you want to use your second Thoughtseize just in case they drew a Jace. That's really what you're most afraid of.
Casts an Umezawa's Jite. There's likely to be very few counterspells in the match at this point in the game, and just getting it out there so that it can be a part of the table.
Yeah, so Jack did draw a Deathrite Shaman for his turn, which is going to be important later on because Lauren does have a Snapcaster Mage. So Jack sacks his Fluttertron. Do we have a Vendilion Click, perhaps?
If so, that's from the sideboard for Jack.
I imagine that's what we're probably going to end up seeing here. Otherwise, don't really know why he would be sacking it on Lauren's draw step. So yeah, it looks like Vendilion Click's coming in. That's why he didn't cast the Deathrite Shaman last turn.
Here we go. Let's see what you got. We know most of these cards already.
So this is great. It gives Jack a little bit more information, puts a threat in play, and allows him to know whether or not he should pull the trigger on Thoughtseize next turn. So
Lauren Nolen with a Vindicate, a Swords to Plowshares, a Tropical Island, a Misty Rainforest, a Snapcaster Mage, I believe. Yep, Snapcaster Mage. That can carry a sword, or a Jite, I should say.
Yep, looks like Snapcasters have come in. So interesting here.
Just really ambush vipering.
Hey, with Jite,
got an Umezawa's Jite in play, yeah.
With Jite, it's pretty good. So looks like Swords to Plowshare potentially could get taken here, or Vindicate. Probably Plowshare because he could always Thoughtseize the Vindicate next turn. If he doesn't take the Plowshare now, Lauren could potentially cast it targeting the Vendilion Click. So, oh nope, he's gonna let him keep them all. He's afraid of Lauren drawing a Jace the Mind Sculptor. He doesn't really care about the removal. And ooh, Snapcaster Mage. So
here we go. In comes the click. Oh, first,
so we're gonna see a Brainstorm here.
Main phase Brainstorm.
Wants an answer to that Umezawa Jite.
And he found one in the form of Snapcaster. In the form of Stoneforge Mystic.
So that's a pretty good draw there. Draws a Dark Confidant and a Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge will be able to find another copy of Jite. He won't be able to cast it this turn, but eventually he will be able to get one into play. He can play a Dark Confidant this turn and a Stoneforge Mystic if he chooses, but looks like Dark Confidant, or Deathrite Shaman rather, but it looks like he's deciding what to put on top, and Deathrite Shaman looks to be like one of the cards he is putting on top of his library. So Deathrite Shaman not nearly as effective on turns 4+, but still pretty good. Jack just attacks in for 3, and it looks like we're probably going to see a Thoughtseize and then a Stoneforge Mystic. So is the Thoughtseize going to take the Vindicate or the Swords to Plowshare here? Yeah, so Vindicate gets taken, and now here's going to come the Stoneforge Mystic. So if you're Jack here, do you block? Let's see what Lauren does. I guess Lauren potentially is just going to plow. Yeah, I guess Lauren plows the Stoneforge Mystic, equips the end of turn, equips the Snapcaster Mage with Jitte, attacks, then kills the Vanilla Click with one of the counters.
It seems like a good way to clear up the table. And yes, Jack Fogle will be able to destroy the Umezawa's Jitte, but not before it is, in turn, removed the Vendilion Click.
So, looks like Lauren's going to draw a card first to see what he draws. Gets a little more information. So I think at this point, this is telling me that he's comfortable with just trading the Snapcaster with the Stoneforge. He knows the Jitte is going to go away anyway. So he's going to save that Plowshare for any of Jack's follow-up plays. So yeah, it looks like that's what we're going to see here. Equip Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster does its work. Goes in. Killed the Jace the Mind Sculptor. It killed the Stoneforge Mystic. Got 2 counters from my Jitte, which is going to be able to kill a Vendilion Click now. So pretty good position for Lauren here. He's going to be able to still have a Swords to Plowshare for Jack's follow-up Dark Confidant. And yeah, Vendilion Click goes away. Only thing he has to really dodge here is another Jace the Mind Sculptor or another Stoneforge Mystic. So Jack is going to play Jack has to play the Umezawa Jitte here to nerf Lauren's Jitte, and then you can follow it up with the Deathrite Shaman right here.
Clear board about to be created here by Jack Fogle.
Yeah, and I think Jack's still in pretty good shape because, you know, he's still... Oh, well. So
wow.
He decides to...
march that out there. Thoughtseize. He can get rid of the Jitte another time, I guess.
So here we go. He knows about the Swords to Plowshare in his hand. So...
no cards left.
Now he can cast the Jitte and make sure that the Dark Confidant stays in play. So, like this play on Jack's part. And here we
Just
go.
verifying, making sure that there's nothing to stop him destroying the Umezawa's Jitte.
So now he's going to clear the board. We're going to have a clear board. Both players are just going to have lands in play. Although Jack has 2 lands, Lauren has 2 lands in his hand, and Jack has a Dark Confidant. So, pretty good sequence here for Jack. He played that one perfectly. So Lauren untaps, draws a card for the turn, and it is, wow, Jace the Mind Sculptor. What a top deck.
Right off
Oof.
the top. Wow.
So, you know, Jack just has a Dark Confidant in his hand. Lauren now can play Jace and brainstorm for 3 and start getting rid of some of those sack lands, some of those lands in his play, start manipulating his draw now. So really good top deck there for Lauren, obviously.
Now, Lauren Nolen with that Jace the Mind Sculptor fighting off against a Dark Confidant in Jack's hand. Jace is just generally better in that fight.
Yes. Jace versus Dark Confidant. Jace wins almost every time. And here's a brainstorm. What are we going to get here?
Draw, draw, draw.
Land. Ooh, Snapcaster. So
Snappy ain't bad. He's not great, though.
Snapcaster will allow him to flashback a Vindicate to potentially deal with the Dark Confidant as opposed to bouncing it.
Yes.
So that's good. And he will get a threat in play. So let's see what Jack draws for his turn here.
Jack is really going to hope to have 2 cards here that are useful. There's the Bob that we already knew about. Anything else, or is that it?
That's it. So Lauren sacks the Marsh Flats.
Shuffling away 2 land.
So this is great. Lauren will be able to cast Snapcaster, and potentially he can plow it. He can. I think plowing is probably better.
Absolutely. I mean, if he just does the plow there, then he doesn't even have to stop brainstorming.
I'm sorry, Jack did draw a Creeping Tar Pit. That was his draw for the turn.
Oh, there it is, hiding there down below.
Hiding there, yeah. Great draw there. Oh, another good draw from Lauren. He drew a Stoneforge Mystic. So he can still go Snapcaster, plow your Creeping Tar Pit in response to activation. So he can still keep his Jace the Mind Sculptor in play for at least one more turn. Oh, is he gonna... So it looks like he's just gonna go with that, and maybe he's gonna Fate Seal here?
We see a Stoneforge Mystic entering play as well. Lauren Nolen tapped out currently, retrieving a Batterskull. Jack Fogle at 13 life nothing in play other than a Creeping Tar Pit and lands, and a Jace the Mind Sculptor, Snapcaster Mage, and the Stoneforge Mystic. He ticks up his Jace. We're going to see some Fate Seal action, and he goes Fate Sealing Jack Fogle.
And he ships it to the bottom of Jack's library. So Jace slightly exposed here. He will be able to, Jack will be able to attack it with the Creeping Tar Pit. However, Lauren's pretty comfortable with that right now because he can Fate Seal again next turn, still keeping it in play, and then he can get a Batter Skull in play and keep chipping away at Jack's life total. So I think Lauren is more than comfortable with this exchange for the next few turns. So Lauren untaps. He's got active Jace the Mind Sculptor. Stoneforge Mystic is now threatening to put a Batter Skull into play, and he can attack with that Snapcaster Mage now. So yeah, I like Fate Sealing again here to keep the Jace outside of the range.
Oh wow, he's going for the
Brainstorm instead, trying to find an answer for Creeping Tar Pit. And he does not find one.
I see a Dark Confidant, a Stoneforge Mystic, once again, a Thoughtseize, and a I think that was the cards we saw there.
So Lauren shoots 2 cards back on top of his library. He plays a Scalding Tarn, and we're going to see a Thoughtseize here to make sure that Jack has nothing crazy in his hand. Jack only has 1 card in his hand, I believe. And it looks like Jack did in fact draw something. Brainstorm would probably be ideal right here. It's probably the best card he can hope for. What does he have? Nope, Plowshare.
Swords just forces Lauren to activate now, but that's not such a bad thing for Lauren to do.
So Batter Skull does come into play. Germ Token gets attached to it, and Stoneforge Mystic gets removed from the game. And Thoughtseize resolves, but there's nothing in Jack's hand anymore, so Snapcaster Mage is free to attack.
2 life from the Thoughtseize, even though it is a null hand. The spell was still cast. 2 more mana, Dark Confidant.
Snapcaster can attack now, dropping Jack to 11.
8 power in play for Lauren Nolen. Jack needs a heck of a rip right now.
That was his card for the turn. We're going to just see Creeping Tar Pit come over to deal with the Jace. And yes, Jace the Mind Sculptor does go away, and a Deathrite Shaman, so he has a blocker, at least. But Lauren does sack his Scalding Tarn. He clears away the Chafe from the top of his library, so now he's going to get activation of he's going to get a flip from Dark Confidant, along with a draw step for his turn, so still ahead here.
By a long ways. Little Jack Fogle tries to muster some sort of presence on the board. He's got very, very little. Lauren Nolen about to grind this one out. Jack is gonna need to see nothing from the Dark Confidant. That's a part of nothing in an empty hand.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna need to rip.
Oof, Snapcaster Mage. That was a
that's not a nothing.
Good draw. Allow him to flashback Vindicate if he wants to clear the path right now.
Jack jokingly offering up the Deathrite Shaman to Bob.
So, yeah, I like the play of Snapcasting back to Vindicate. You're going to attack for 8, you drop him to 3, and you have another threat on the board to threaten lethal again for next turn. So, short of I don't even think a Batter Skull here.
Supreme Verdict is the only thing he can draw that will keep him in the game, and I don't like that in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm not sure he boarded in Supreme Verdict yet.
I don't like it in the matchup, but it's the only thing he can draw to save his life.
Is it a Jace? What is he thinking about here?
3 life.
Well, it looks like he has 4 lands motion to the side.
Looks like he drew a balance.
Oh, so it is a Jace.
It is a Jace.
So Jace the Mind Sculptor. We're gonna have a Brainstorm here.
A miracle draw of
Lingering
swords.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Fortunately, he does not have enough mana to cast the Lingering Souls. He has to put 2 of those cards back on top of his library. He has nothing.
That is it.
Wow.
Thief Blade. Lauren Nolen, the Esper Deathblade victor in this mirror match, has wrapped it all up.
Wow. So, very close. It's one of those games where, it feels like people, especially in this matchup, people keep struggling to try to regain control. They're so close, but a timely Jace the Mind Sculptor for Lauren locked things up for him. So, yep, you know, you're going to have to get lucky every once in a while to win one of these things.
There's going to be someone else out there that is a lucky winner.